That room, the empty one that the gentleman first on explained, where you get pumped full of adrenaline and then wait for the experiment to start, I've worked in agencies like that. Thank you for having me here today. This is insane. I feel like this talk's on slightly early. I'm just going to say that before I get started. So, you can't find peace by avoiding life. I think we all know that contrarian thinking is good. So I'm not going to do a eulogy to it or anything like that. I think we all know that it's cool and we all know that it solves problems and all that other stuff. I guess what I wanted to do really was talk about some of the lessons I'd learned around how to perhaps foster more contrarian thinking. And I guess the journey I'd been on really taught me a load about culture, I suppose. My name's Nils, sorry, by the way. I'm the founder of Uncommon. Used to work with a lovely Matt over there at Grey and have worked in the industry for a while. But I'll just get straight into it and hopefully give you some stuff today that's useful. Tell me off on Twitter as I go if that's a problem. So contrarian thinking, the act of thinking outside of the norm or against accepted thinking, right? Otherwise known as creativity. Like chill out planners. You're not the only ones contrarian thinking. How many syllables do you fucking need? Otherwise known as creativity, but I don't want to do this thing today where it's like the creator's going to talk about creativity and we're all going to be completely distant from it, because I also hate most creatives. Some complete bullshit pushed by creatives about creativity. I just want to launch into this first of all, because I genuinely believe some of this and I want to come clean on some stuff as a creative for our industry. The first is that contrarian thinking and creativity are a craft. You know, this idea that we need to retreat to our office to come up with the leap. I'm going to come up with a game-changing idea. I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to craft it. I fucking hate that. It's nonsense, you know, and this idea that we can craft creativity, that it's this sort of choice we make to be creative. I don't believe that that's how it works. A second one is that creativity is not a fucking haircut. You'll see this, and what I mean by this is creativity is not a set of clothes, of offices, of behaviors, and then suddenly you can go and make something contrarian happen. It's not. You don't adopt it like that. It doesn't work like that. In our game, this is something I've tried very hard to remove. And perhaps the biggest one, you know, there's a lot of talk of bravery in our game. You know, Tor, you know, basically there needs to be talk of bravery when you're running the police, okay? You don't need to talk about bravery in the fucking advertising industry. But there is a lot of talk about it. You know, you need to be brave to think differently. I think our job, actually, is to remove the need for bravery as leaders, to just remove it as a concept. Why is there fear in our industry? Look at what we do. There should be no fear. And really, I suppose, that fear is really us worrying about what someone else thinks, isn't it? That's really what I'm sort of saying. And actually, I think actually that bravery that we might need can be completely removed if you view creativity as a survival mechanic. So I think contrarian thinking, the best of it, when you totally want to think differently, when you are forced to make a completely different decision, is us just trying to survive. I think that's the best of creativity. And so we should all think, I suppose, as we go, and I guess the thing I'm going to try and show you is how we foster that into the thinking that we do every day. Sort of put more frankly, we're at our most creative when we're in the shit. I'd love you all to imagine a situation when you've been caught by somebody you love doing something you shouldn't. And the first stuff that goes in your head, man, is amazing, some of the excuses that come into your head. Yeah. But it's true. And actually, if we look to history, and I'm just going to push this a little bit, you know, fuck you, death. Who thought of when someone fell over and was dying and they couldn't breathe, they're going to cut a hole in their neck, take the thing out of the middle of a biro and go, poof, put it in their neck so they can breathe. Right? That is an act of creativity. That is mad. This person's going to die. There is a mortal decision to be made in front of me. This person's going to die. I've got to do something differently, otherwise they're going to die. What do? Create an airwave. Poof, someone does it. That's what I mean. That's like a massively hyped example, isn't it? But that's a really interesting thing, that they are placed under this pressure and this fear and this frustration, and they have to save a life. A similar one, which I just wanted to show in this room because it's a very historic room, and I have a schoolboy tendency to do this. The Armada, right? What are we doing? Completely outnumbered by the most insane fleet we've ever faced, and we set fire to our own ships to beat them. What? You've got to be mental. But that whole theory, I think, is interesting. The forced difference in thinking didn't come because he was sat there, you know, Drake, kind of going, oh, what should we do now? I might be creative. Came because he looked off the horizon and went, wow, we are fucked. Shit! Look at all them. slightly back to our sort of category, but again, the birth of Spotify, right? And there's a load of other examples. You know, record industry was ripping us off. Artists were getting the piss taken out of them. Everyone was losing money. Poof, something new comes along. The music industry was ripping everyone off, so Spotify. Renting property was a minefield. So Airbnb, right? It used to be that, you know, and I love ideas that remove compromise. I love them. There's this temptation to presume we're all in this thing, which is versus at the moment. Creativity versus data. You know, and I just love ideas that remove compromise. So Airbnb, you could either sleep in a shithole, or you could pay loads of money and stay somewhere nice and get what you wanted. And they just removed that tension. Local taxis were rank and unsafe. So Uber. Big banks are pissing everyone off. So Monzo. You get it. Cable TV was drip-feeding content like a crack dealer. So Netflix. I'm saying that these ideas and these businesses are born of frustration, and are born of annoyance, and are born of a need state. And people have got to the point where that mattered more than perhaps successfully carrying on like it was. And I think that's really what all this is about. There's a quote I've always loved. Tanta right now will be rolling his fucking eyes seeing this. But I've always loved it. It's from Death of a Salesman. I'm not interested in stories about the past or any crap of that kind because the woods are burning. There's a big blaze going on all around. This is a sort of quote that I took to my heart when I looked at our industry. It's from a moment in the book where he sort of looks at everybody and they're all sort of sat around like, it'll be all right, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And he kind of like, the woods are burning. And I wanted people to feel like this in our industry. Because I think in our industry, it's really tempting to continue with our hands over our ears, going, it's all fine. It's all absolutely fine. Do you remember that ad, just to the lamppost? The Adidas ad, just to the lamppost, just to the car. It was like a running ad. And it just implied you just had to get that little bit further to get to your goal. I think a lot of people in our industry are doing that. Just to next year, just to data, just to whatever. And I think we're pretending it's all right, and I'm sort of saying it's not. And I guess if the woods are burning in our industry, we've got to look to things like this. They did a survey asking people, do you look forward to the ads on TV as much as you look forward to the programming? And in 1991, that was true. So in 91, I don't know if any of you remember, you'd sit down and you'd go, oh, the ads are on, fucking awesome. You know, and you'd be like, wonder what's happening now. And there'd be a massive totemic film from, you know, Ridley Scott or someone on, and we'd all love it. Obviously, look at it now. The ads are as good as the programs on TV. You know, that's 2015, and we're in negative equity. So people are paying money to avoid what we make. You know, and I know there's a lot of talk of this, but these are the woods that are burning in our industry, and far more romantically put, Banksy. People are taking the piss out of you every day. They butt into your life, take a cheap shot at you, and then disappear. They leer at you from tall buildings and make you feel small. They make flippant comments from buses that imply you're not sexy enough, and all the fun's happening somewhere else. They're on TV making your girlfriend feel inadequate. They have access to the most sophisticated tech the world has ever seen, and they bully you with it. They're the advertisers, and they're laughing at you. You know, this is public sentiment being expressed by one of our greatest artists. We have to think about this. You know, now there's a lot of talk about marketing's fucking amazing. It's not a choice again. There's not compromise between advertising and something else. But we must be aware of this. We must be aware of this challenge and this frustration and, frankly, you know, impending doom. I tried a thing. We started a thing called Uncommon. This is our version of a response to it. I don't know whether it's going to work yet. This isn't an advert for us. Our premise is we're going to work with the world's most ambitious people to build uncommon brands, so brands that don't behave that way, or we're going to make them ourselves. This is something that we feel very passionately about. You know, because how do we get to have a viewpoint on it all and how you should be if we're not going to give it a fucking go? And so that's our go at it. And I guess in that removal of compromise we've launched a coffee brand called Halo. It's a biodegradable version of Nespresso. Nespresso, 13,500 Nespresso capsules go into a landfill every minute. And they take 500 years to go away. So that's a massive problem. We've launched a completely biodegradable version of that with better coffee in our opinion. This business, by the way, is a howling mess. I won't lie to you and say this is amazing and then Halo is awesome and like we're just going to float for 40 million. It's a massive mess under the surface. It's working. We've taken another round of funding on. We're back on shelves. We sold out. We didn't know what we were doing, but we had a go at it. And it came from a point, genuinely, where I looked at the world and said, okay, these things are fucking our planet up for what we think used to be an innovation. We can have an espresso in our kitchen. That's not worth ruining our planet for. It's nuts. And that is genuinely motivating. And when I came from that place and I looked at it and I said, okay, what's going to keep me going when this gets frankly boring? That stuff is. And so I looked at it and said, okay, you know, the capsule coffee market was average and killing the planet, so Halo. And so there's another example I guess I'm trying to give you of why this is kind of important. The aim for me is I'd love to run a company that people in the real world are glad exists. A client once asked me in a pitch, it was the best question ever, I bled for this pitch. I said, Nils, how do we go from being a company that sells stuff to people to being a company that the world wish existed? And I just sort of was like, oh my God, I don't know, but I'm going to kill my weekend to find out for you. And I went off and just started thinking about that. But the truth is, I want to be a company that people in the real world are glad exists. You know, I think a lot of people in our industry are sort of more like these sort of shadowy, perverted advisors, aren't we? We sort of sit on the side, you know, do some programmatic. What? And being really honest, for vanity reasons, I don't want to be fucking invisible anymore. You know, I want us to matter. I want us to be seen in the world and for people to like us. So, right, cool. So, contrary till we die, a cheat sheet. So I wanted to give you some stuff I thought that might be cheat sheets to how to drive this thinking into your organizations or just into your day jobs, really. Look for trouble. So don't look for what makes you happy. The temptation when you're looking for purpose and all that other stuff is to go, well, what do we love? Well, we love sitting around and kind of jamming and beanbags and, you know, quite like thinking very provocatively and reading. Yeah, all right. Where's the trouble? Where's the bit that people are fucking hating? I saw a Jeff Bezos thing. I hate eulogizing the richest man on the planet, but he said something really annoyingly good. He said, everyone's talking about what's going to change in the next 3 years. I basically look at what isn't and form an entire business around that. I was like, oh, shit, so good. But look for trouble. You know, I believe that contrarian thinking and the biggest leaps come from the biggest problems. Go where the heat is. Where's the trouble? In your own organization, by the way, as well as in the world. Create a culture with the simple belief that if creativity fails, then we all die. But I mean that. Like, I want to run a company, and I hope I do, and I'm trying to, where we genuinely believe that if we don't follow our approach and the commitment we've made to ourselves, then it's all going to fucking go. And I believe that's true. The skip ad button exists, okay? Skip ad industry is next. And I just think we have to look at our organizations and ask ourselves what sort of culture we want to make. If you're a leader, I think it's a really, really, really simple thing is to find the stuff that pisses you off and channel it into your vision. So don't be afraid of the stuff that personally moves you and pisses you off, and channel it into your business. They're not disconnected. I know I'm going to just say it. Everyone in here is so bright. You're the brightest people in our industry in this room, but often far too much mechanical behavior, I think, sometimes in our industry. Far too much science and cleverness, and not enough heart and not enough movement. Planners. This is something, you know, the brief is the culture of every project. So if you stop looking at a brief and went, okay, what's the problem here, and here's something to solve, and here's how we're going to do it, and I've seen great briefs, and, you know, we've all worked on some, but the brief is the culture of every project. How do you want this project to feel and run? What's the code between your people on this project? What is unacceptable in this project and how we behave? This is a really powerful question. You get to set that. You're like the guys and the people that get to go, right, here's how we're going to do it, guys. This is the feel. This is how hot this process is going to be. This is what success looks like. You get to point the most creative, most powerful people at any problem you want. So you get to define that. Truthfully, fear is an overused word for worrying about what someone else thinks. I'm going to say this. I think creatives are fucking awful bullies sometimes. You know, planning is so hard. If you think about what planning is, you're the first step. You've got to put it out there before anyone else has. You know, and how many times you walked into a room with a brief and it's like, yeah, all right, yeah. It's hard, you know, but I think if you come in with that ferocity, and I guess come in from a point of view that I've just referenced, I hopefully think it might make your days a bit easier because you're coming from somewhere that's genuinely propelled by a need. I want to play you a clip of a film now that I love.
Q Howard.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Things have got to change.
How many stations does this go
You've got
up
to
at?
get mad.
67. I know it goes to Louisville and Atlanta.
I'm not going to take this anymore. Then we'll figure out what to do about the depression and the inflation and the oil crisis. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell, and say, I'm as bad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Okay, chill out. But it's true, man. How amazing is that bit of film, by the way? Everything he says completely relevant now, quite terrifying from a film in the 60s called Network. Truth is, when you are mad and you go and do things differently, there will be haters. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of talk of collaboration. Work with people, bring them round. Yeah, you can. Truthfully, some people are just assholes. Arguing with idiots is like playing chess with a pigeon. No matter how good you are, the bird's going to shit on the board and strut around like it won anyway. If you are not in an organization that will come with you sometimes, or really when you're trying to push your own agenda, just leave, man. It's all right, you know. You don't have to get on with everybody. It doesn't have to work with everybody in the way you want it to. Look, one thing I thought I'd show you very quickly is I think this is a sort of journey of a madman idiot success thing. This needs a better name, this chart, obviously. The truth is, I think everybody starts out being an idiot and a fool when they do something new, when they come from somewhere new. My favorite part is when you're then a twat or arrogant. That's the worst bit. That you're not mad anymore. You're just annoying. You're arrogant. And then, of course, you see these people, and there are heroes and heroines in the world, aren't they? The people that have done this. There's a hang-on moment. Oh, hang on a minute, maybe. The early adopter moment that we've referenced earlier with the building a movement. Then they're brave, an innovator, leader, and a hero. The point is to remember something in here has to fuel you to get through all of that. One of mine that I have on the wall is sometimes I feel like giving up, then I remember I have a lot of motherfuckers to prove wrong. I come from that place, man. That's my thing. Find yours, I think is a good thing there. Just ending now. I know I'm a little bit over time. There's a lot of talk of this. What's the brand's purpose? What's the brand's purpose? The truth is, I'd really love you all to ask what yours is. I'd love more people to take this personally. I'd love you all to feel this in your guts and hearts and want to matter in the world. Print the posters you wish you could steal, shoot the films you wish you could watch, create the brands you wish existed, and make the industry you wish you worked in. That's on you. And I would really wish more of us did that. Lastly, if this is the game we're in, don't worry too much about your careers. The career is a defunct word if you're going to think contrarially. If you're going to really believe in contrarian thinking, have a contrarian career. I'll leave you with this from Noel Gallagher. I guarantee you this. The Stone Roses never mentioned career in any band meetings ever. Or Primal Scream or The Verve. Oasis certainly never mentioned it. I bet it's mentioned a lot by managers and agents now. Don't do that. It's bad for your career. What? Fuck off. Like when we went to the Brits and we'd won all those awards and we didn't play, the head of the Brits said, this will ruin your career. Fucking wow, I said to the guy. Do you know how high I am? You know it's going to ruin my career? Me, not you, bellend. More champagne. Fuck off. Thank you.